What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some good and bad route running. So we're going to be showing 3 examples of bad routes, and then we're going to be showing 3 examples of good routes that build off of this and what these wide receivers can do to improve on these aspects. So I hope this video helps you guys out. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to improve your press releases, you want to know 20 different press releases and the exact situations to use each one, check out that very first link in the description below for our 50-minute long video on 20 different press releases, when to use it, and then we also include drills for each press release to work on those skills with sets and reps. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started. So now, first release we're going to be looking at here is a wide step release. So this is a route that gets absolutely locked up here by Alshon Jeffrey. This is, not a good release, not enough for separation, but the second example is going to be what you should do on this release. So this release is called a wide step. So a wide step is exactly how it sounds. It's when you step with your back foot and you try to step wide, trying to get this DB to jump to the outside, maybe play the fade to take the inside release. I personally like using this type of release when you have a DB who's outside shade like so. Because when this DB is outside leverage, what is he trying to protect? He's trying to protect the outside leverage. Wherever his leverage is, that's where he's trying to not let you go. So when he's lined up outside shade, this wide step is a great way to sell like you were just running to the outside. But that's exactly what we have to do with this wide step. We have to sell it. So you see when he comes off the ball here, this doesn't really do much, this step. It's kind of a step to generate some explosion. We're going to talk about a better way for you to do that. But when he takes this wide step, I want you to watch where he's lined up, right? He's goodly off the ball, 10-yard line. When he steps, he does not step even close to that 10-yard line. He is stepping like almost behind his front foot. He's given a weak head and shoulder fake. And this DB who is disciplined watching our hips will not bite on that thing. I've seen people try to teach this type of movement before. They're teaching moving laterally. Like, hey, you want to move lateral, you want to move a lot with your head and your shoulders, and you want to dip side to side. I personally don't like that because that's not going to threaten a disciplined guy who's watching here. An undisciplined guy who's maybe looking up here, it won't work. Or that might work, but it won't work against a disciplined guy. So we actually have, when I step with a wide step, I need to actually threaten him to the outside. I need to actually step into his frame. I need to at least get to this line of scrimmage, but I need to step outside of his frame and threaten him vertically. Let's almost try to make him uncomfortable. Let's get into his cushion and step on his toes. Because when I just step halfway like this, I'm just giving a little head and shoulder lean. All that's going to let this DB do is get hands, screw up the timing of the play, and be able to make a play on this ball. That's good defense right there because that's not a good enough fake. Fellas, everybody's biggest fear with releases is, oh, what if it doesn't work? You can't have that mindset. Your mindset needs to be, I am going to make it work. I need to sell like I am doing a speed freaking release to the outside right now because that is the only way that a disciplined guy will move. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Right idea versus an outside shade DB, but just we got to be able to get separation and threaten him. Okay, so now we're looking at the exact same release here from Demaryius Thomas. He's running a slant route, but the same thing would apply for any route. It's still the same technique in terms of the wide step. So watch what he does here. I want you to watch his front foot, and I want you to watch his wide step foot. So let's play it full speed. So steps wide, but look at the difference of that step and look what that can do to that DB. That could get that DB to widen. That could get him to sit to the outside. All we need him to do is hesitate, fellas. So let's talk about the differences here. First, I want to talk about this first step. So I call this a prep step, and I've posted a lot of videos on this, and a lot of people disagree with it. They're like, oh, you never want to take a false step. What are you doing? This is bad. But this is a perfect example of how this false step generates explosion, and it allows you to actually threaten him vertically. Because we look at this last example in this wide receiver when he's coming out of his stance, he's very flat-footed. He's got no explosion whatsoever. He just steps with the back leg. That does not do anything to this DB. Now we look at this example when we got some actual explosion into it because of this front step, and this front step is not like you're not stepping 2 yards back. You're literally picking this foot up and putting it down in place because that step right there allows you to push. It creates energy. Fellas, when you just come out of a flat-footed receiver stance against press, it is very, very hard to generate any kind of explosion. So this like prep step, if you will, creates explosion and allows you to push off of it. Because when you can push off of that step, guess where your next step will be? Outside of his frame, your whole upper body will go with this step, and that actually threatens him to the outside. That's the good example of this wide step. You need to use something that will generate explosion to allow you to throw your hip, throw the step, and actually threaten this guy to the outside. Because all I need to do is just to get him to false step, get him to hesitate, and I could get off this press. That's textbook right there from Thomas. Now, do you have to take this prep step? No. I actually don't do too much with the prep step. Like I don't do a whole, like if a guy's comfortable with it, I want to work with it. But what I teach a lot of, because I'm most comfortable with it, is maybe like a kick step. So what I'll do with this back foot is you kind of saw Jeffrey try to do it, but it wasn't enough. You kick behind yourself, like you take like a little bit of a tiny quick step, similar to the prep step with this back foot behind you, and that gives you explosion to throw and press vertical. One of those two I like. We just cannot come out flat-footed because we will lose explosion and we will not be able to step outside of this guy's frame and threaten him to the outside. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Textbook route right there from Demaryius Thomas to get that DB to hesitate so he could win on that slant route. All right, so now, next example here. This is a route from Michael Thomas. This was kind of going, I saw this passed around a little bit everywhere on Instagram, and everybody was talking about how he got locked up right here and how this release was bad. So how do you guys think you want to correct something like this? Let's play at full speed, and then we'll talk about it. So when he comes off the ball, look at his pad level and how he's kind of leaning back, right? So we're going to be showing a good example of Michael Thomas doing this exact same release here in a second, but let's talk about what he did wrong. So when he comes off the ball, number one thing, fellas, we cannot have my chest exposed. A lot of people talk about, hand placement off the line. They say that, you want to have your hands up by your chest so you're always ready to swat. I wouldn't even say that. I think that's a very tense position to be in. If you're comfortable there, that's fine. I don't think that's an issue. I don't think that's a problem. But I like my hands more in like a relaxed position, kind of by my quads. But I cannot expose my chest by raising up with my chest and having my pad level or my back be straight up and down. Because when you're straight up and down, it is so much easier for this guy to knock you off balance. Like, think about it like this. You got a guy standing in front of you, and you're standing directly as tall as you can with your chest up. And he gives you one good push. You're probably going to fall back. Now, maybe widen your feet a little bit, get a slight lean forward, have a good pad level position, and he tries to push you as hard as you can. It's going to be a little bit harder to fall back. Same idea with press coverage. So many wide receivers, regardless of the release, what they will do is they will come off the line. Maybe they're doing a hesitation release, and they will stand up. Guys, when you stand up tall, you are more likely to get driven back 5 yards. You have to make sure that we keep a good, explosive, slight leaning forward pad level position on any release, whether it's that wide step, whether it's some kind of dive inside, whether it's some kind of split release, some hezi release. You have to keep a good pad level. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This is not the best example. Michael Thomas usually is much better off the line, but this is a good example of the exact same release next and how he's able to keep a good pad level. So that's pretty much the same idea, but look at the difference here. Look at the difference in his body from the last one. Is he at all standing straight up tall? No. He's got that slight lean forward. Hands are ready to go. His chest or his number is not exposed. That's something that I tell a lot of my receivers all the time. Do not expose your number. Do not show him your chest. Because now if he decides to get hands, he's not completely screwed. He could swat those hands and get off. But the entire time right here, you see the pad level that he has. That is where we want to be. Explosive pad level position. So if that DB does decide to get hands, it's not going to knock me off the route completely. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Michael Thomas showcasing to us that good pad level off the line is what can get you some separation, or even more so separation if those feet are correct. All right, so we are going to be looking at the top of the screen here. I know it cuts off just a tad, but we're looking at this wide receiver. So this ends up being a pick, and this is not the quarterback's fault. This is the wide receiver's fault. So he's running a slant. We got obviously what type of coverage? Inside shade, maybe he's about 2 to 3 yards off. So what I would go about doing is probably closing the space and then taking 3 steps on a diamond release, get him to open, and then go. Or even better this, I would go right at his outside shoulder for 3 hard steps. They call it a diamond release, right, fellas? Personally, I like closing the space first to make him uncomfortable. But if you want to go right at the outside shoulder, I don't think that's wrong. I think it's just better to close space. So watch what he does here. He just tries to close space and go. And that's going to get you jammed every single time. Because this DB, fellas, when he's inside shade and he's like pressed up, his sole purpose in life is do not give up the slant. Like, he just can't, he will not give that slant up. If he's disciplined, right? If he's disciplined, he knows what he's doing. So if my game plan is just to attack him, give him a move outside, then run the slant, that's not going to work. He wants you to go outside. He wants to force you to that sideline because that's where his help is. The sideline is his help because, as you can see, it's man. This ain't no zone coverage look. So he's trying to force you to that sideline. So if I just go at him, he's just going to keep his leverage. That is no problem for him. That is his responsibility. So if we just try to go, this is going to be the result. Or it's going to be batted down and we're not going to have any space. So we have to know how to structure my release. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Again, not a bad idea. It's just not going to work against a disciplined guy. Against a bad DB, fellas, a lot of this stuff that wouldn't work probably could work. But I don't want to get you ready for a bad DB. I want you ready for a talented guy who's patient and who's disciplined. So now let's take a look at this here. So we got the same type of look, inside shade, about 2 to 3 yards off. This wide receiver is running a slant route. So watch what he does. He attacks him 1, 2, 3. That's what we call a diamond release, fellas. That is where we want to get. I'm going to play this again full speed one more time. He doesn't just attack him, try to do a crossover. He actually threatens him with the fade. That's what we want to do on this. He's inside shade. Okay, let's try to get him to open up his hips to the fade. They call it opening the gate so I could slip back underneath. So when we go here and I attack him, again, that's what I was saying, closing the space. We push up vertical for 3 steps, get that DB to open, and I could win. A lot of guys, like in the last example, what he did was he would just go at him, give a little fake outside, then try to cut in front of him. That ain't going to fly, fellas, against a disciplined dude. We have to threaten him fade. We have to know how to attack outside shoulder and the proper times to attack leverage. Now, like, let's say, for example, you're running like a comeback. Yeah, you would want to just attack his leverage. You want to give him a fake inside, then go, because you're threatening him to where he doesn't want us to go. But when you have a route that's to his leverage, you have to pick the opposite shoulder to run at. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver. Closing space first, then go into that diamond release and being able to win on that slant route versus that inside shade press. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like a 50-minute long video on 20 different press releases, when to use each one, and then drills to work on each one, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.